Uh, let's see. Okay. All right. He should be on in a few minutes. Okay. Well, it's good to see everyone. And I know we're all recognizing this is a very different year and we're adjusting in so many ways. So let's go ahead and get started with the minutes. I think everyone received minutes from Joe from last August, our general meeting in August 23rd. It sounds so long ago. Everyone's had time to look over those. Were there any changes that anyone saw we needed to make?
Nope.
I didn't see any either.
Yay.
So
Yay,
Will it-
Joe.
Yay.
yeah,
Nobody-
so we'll accept those as typed and sent out. So Joe, you can change that now to approved and send those on to the POA. Very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Leon, you want to talk about the treasurer's report and membership report?
Hey, good afternoon. The treasury report was sent to everyone with the meeting notes. So I'll just be highlighting a few items from that report. The reopening guidelines seems to be well received by our members. The report from the June committee meeting shows our membership running slightly ahead of the same time last year. That report shows 98 pickleball and 58 tennis members. That was as of June 12th. So the current member numbers are 108 pickleball and 63 tennis. So club membership is looking exceptionally good under the current circumstances.
Mhm.
Our social membership has been eliminated because social events have been canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we'll no longer be providing those numbers. We also have 1 tennis and 3 pickleball junior members that are not included in the above membership numbers. So that's it for membership. Moving on to financials. Our social account continues to have a healthy balance with $9,471.48 as of May 31st. There has been minimal activity in the social account this year. A $35 miscellaneous expense was for the canceled pickleball tournament. The enterprise account shows a $6,119.19 balance as of May 31st. This number reflects $27,000 the club is scheduled to receive from the POA general fund at the end of the year. Of course, we haven't received that, but that prevents the club finances from looking unnecessarily with a negative balance. For those who are interested, that actual balance in their enterprise account is a negative $20,880.81. The club's major expenses, the upper tennis court surface lift and the annual reconditioning for the lower courts have been paid. Wayland Tennis was unable to perform the scheduled sprinkler repairs because galvanized pipe was used for the existing plumbing there. Overall, the club finances are in good shape for several factors. The club membership is consistent with last year's at this time. A full surface lift was not needed on the upper courts. Performing a half lift saved the club $5,490. Club expenses have been kept low. And I want to thank our tennis members for performing the daily maintenance on their courts. This has been a big benefit to the club. So in closing, the good news is that the enterprise fund should realize a positive balance this year if no unexpected expenses are incurred. So thanks, and everyone stay safe.
Okay. Thank you, Leon.
Thank you, Leon.
Hey, Martha?
And Martha?
Yes. The first item on the agenda under communication is our reopening guidelines, as we have moved into now the second modification of phase 2. I had the great pleasure last night of wading through the governor's executive order that he issued yesterday. I'm always curious about why there are so many whereases in such a thing. But anyway, the current guidelines that we have distributed with the modifications to the reservations program are consistent with the executive order that he announced yesterday. So we're in good shape. I'm grateful that we decided some weeks ago not to move into what we had thought we might do as phase 3 in terms of open rallies, because the outside group sizes have not increased. And what we're doing now in terms of reservations, and will continue to do for the rest of the season, keep us well within the state guidelines. And I think behaving very safely on the tennis and on the pickleball courts. I've been very pleased at how our players have continued to social distance and to maintain all of the precautionary guidelines that we wrote back in the winter time. If anyone's bored some night and can't go to sleep, those guidelines would make a great refresher. A couple of reminders about them. A player did this morning raise the issue of the fact that to avoid touching the gates, we ought to leave the gates open, that it was safer to chase balls outside the gate than it was to risk touching them. And so we're going to work probably with a bungee cord to tie those gates open while people are playing so that we don't end up touching them. The court reservation system is actually working quite well. Susan Walls with tennis and Sue Chapin here with pickleball have worked very, very hard to incorporate new members into games and to make them feel welcome on the courts. And for that, Susan's not here, but Sue, we're grateful. I think people are feeling good about being included, which is, I think, quite remarkable given that we are limited by the reservation system. So good for us. With reservations in place, the tennis rally will begin in July on Tuesday and Saturday, but it is, again, limited by reservations and will be limited to 15 or 16 people so that we're well within the state guidelines on that. We have developed and sent out to everyone what's called a Racquet Club guest certification. All of our members have gotten that, and the POA office also has them. If someone who's a property owner or a renter and who doesn't know a Racquet Club member wants one, it can be obtained at the POA office or online on the Racquet Club website or on the Racquet Club Facebook page. And then I think that's all of the places. That leads me to the Racquet Club website. Finally, after 3+ years of working with Josh now and his predecessor before him to get us access to the Racquet Club website, he has finally granted that access to Leon and to Mike so that we can actually upgrade that website ourselves and put our own information on there. And kudos to Leon, who has been, I think, staying up late nights working on that. But if you go to the member side of the Land Harbor website, you will find that under virtually every one of the headlines, there is real information that is there. I mean, you click on a button and it goes to the committee members or the financial report or the minutes or the agenda or whatever it is you might want to see. So thank you, Leon, for doing that. For the first time in my history, we've got a website link and links that are current and accurate and easy to manipulate. So I think we are in good shape in that regard. And that's it.
Very good. Thank you, Martha. Okay, court operations. Mike is on vacation at the beach, but he is joining us. Hello, Mike.
Hey, how y'all doing?
We're great.
Leon reported earlier that the court maintenance, the lift and the reconditioning for the tennis courts had been done. Also this winter, a backer board or playing board was placed on the pickleball courts over on court 5, I believe it is. We have done a lot of work. A lot of folks have done a lot of work on the courts this spring. A group headed up by Susan and Candace worked really hard on courts 5 through 7 to eliminate the weeds and grass that was starting to grow there. We're still having to stay on top of that because those courts are not being used as much, so therefore they're not being swept as much, and that keeps the and sweeping and playing on the courts keeps the grass and other weeds from growing up in the court. This year, to maintain court costs down or keep costs down, we've had volunteers sweeping the courts, brushing the courts, and doing the lines, and also rolling the courts and using the metal brush to sweep around the edges to keep the grass from growing. That's been a volunteer basis. We have a group of people that are doing that on a regular basis. So that's been going real well. As Leon mentioned, the sprinklers did not get repaired this year due to the sprinkler system having galvanized pipe, and Wayland Tennis does not do anything with galvanized pipe. I've got calls into several plumbers to get estimates to on what it would take to shut off those sprinklers that are in the center of the playing area and move them to the center of the court. Unfortunately, that will shut the tennis courts down, 1 through 4 anyway, will shut the courts down for several days, if not longer. So we've elected to not proceed with that until we get the bids, and also to do that sometime this fall when the courts are not in prime use. Generally, the court's in great shape. The upper courts, 1 through 4 with the lift, are playing great. Last I played on them, and also others have told me they're playing really, really well. I don't think I have anything else.
Okay. We might want to mention, Mike, also about the playable or non-playable courts, how to
Right.
evaluate that.
Right. We have Susan Walls called or talked to her the other day, and she is going to put the message on every morning as to whether the courts are playable or not. We've had a couple of instances where people are playing on the courts when they should not be, the clay courts. One of the things that we've learned, and Lori did a great job of doing some research on this, if you go on the court and you can take your thumb and you can press it into the court and it leaves a mark there, then the courts are too soft to play, and playing on them could damage the courts. So we ask you, if you go on the courts and the ball's not bouncing very well, or you do that test and it's causing the courts to be damaged, please do not play on the court. That's all we can say. We'll be checking it on a regular basis. I've gone out several times and left messages that the courts were not playable. They may be playable about later in the morning, and I've gone back later in the morning and they were playable. But we've had some instances where people would play on them after a rainstorm and still play on them, and that will damage the courts. We spend entirely too much money on those courts to have someone go out and damage the courts by playing on them when they're not fit to be played. So please respect that avenue of not playing on the courts when they're too wet.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. All right. Fred, are you
This
with
is
us?
Fred.
Okay.
I'm now on the phone. Sorry, had some technical difficulties.
Okay, Fred. You want to talk about the garden? And Sue is on here too. So Sue could talk about the garden and the volunteers she needs.
Yes,
Sue, you want to
please,
go ahead?
Sue.
Yeah.
Yes. Saturdays, 1 to 3 is an all-out call for weeders. At this point, we only have 5 flower beds taken. we have more not taken than we have that people have signed up for. So we desperately need weeders. You do not have to have any experience. So we hope that you will come on Saturday and help us weed. It's going to be a great time. You can have your social distancing. You get to have nice conversations with your friends, beautiful sunshine, and you're going to go away with a feeling of accomplishment. So please, everybody that can come, turn out, and also make sure that you sign up for a flower bed while you're there. And we look forward to seeing you from 1 to 3 on Saturday. Bring your diggers, gloves, shovels, whatever you have, and any able bodies you want to bring with you.
Got it.
Thank you, Sue.
May I add one thing to that?
Yes.
Sue had, I think, a good idea of rescheduling the garden cleanup for Saturday in hopes that some of our weekenders would be able to come and participate. So if you've got friends or neighbors who are weekenders, please encourage them to come and help us with those weeds.
Mhm. And the club
perhaps
will provide,
lovely
we
gardens.
will have the clear bags there. So, we'll have all that that material for you. So please come for sure.
And we're also
Okay.
looking to kind of give heads up for the future. We have some flower beds that need some more flowers, and we have flower beds that have too many. So we're going to do some nice rearranging and make it look beautiful.
Great. Thank you, Sue.
Yeah.
Okay, Fred.
Okay, shoe baths, I call them, for the tennis shoes that get the Hartrue all over them. We have 3 baths in place, one by the main tennis entrance, one on courts 5 through 7 at the entrance back there, and one at the far end, halfway down where there's a gate. There's also a shoe bath there. And would like to encourage any tennis players who are going to play pickleball, please take your shoes through the shoe bath first so we don't get Hartrue all over the asphalt where the pickleball courts are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay.
And the pair of windscreens, it said, actually, we have some more windscreens. We put up one, Judd and I did a few days ago, to cover the back of court number 4, tennis court number 4.
Mhm.
So that's done. And we don't plan to put any other windscreens up unless there's some reason that people think there should be more. But it's all along that street side of the tennis courts and the street side of the pickleball courts.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
They look great. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So, socials, Lori? Lori, are you there? We lost her. She's frozen.
Lori?
Lori.
There's
Okay.
no social report anyway, right?
There is none. And the thing is, we did cancel all of the socials for the entire season. It's kind of hard to social distance in a potluck or inside facilities. There's just too many restrictions. So we did decide to cancel all the socials. The social refunds, we're going to be making those. Anyone who paid cash will be getting a check back. And also those individuals, there were a few that paid their dues early in January and early February, and I had cashed those checks. So yes, you're one, Scott. So you'll be getting a refund check from us on those. The other checks, I'll just be tearing those up. So they won't be clearing your bank. Okay. As far as my report, you all received an attachment with the player report and a peak court usage report. And this particular graph is only from May 13th to June the 12th. I'm not going to go into that much, but what we're trying to show is what I'm looking at are the number of players that are on the courts each day, recording that. And then also the peak hours that the courts are being used. And that does tend to be around 9 o'clock, 9:30 until about 11 o'clock each day. And so the peak usage chart can show you the number of times that either pickleball has hit 100% of using all 6 courts, and the same for tennis, using all 7 courts. The dotted line that is on that graph is for the 4 courts because early on, we only had 4 courts available. So that report will be revised each month and be sent out. Play that. Okay, somebody here? Okay. Okay, all right.
That could be difficult. Can't hear you, Lisa.
Lisa, you turned your mic off.
Can't hear you, Lisa.
Lisa, you turned your mic off.
Lisa. Lisa.
Okay,
Okay, she's back on.
okay, all right. Hit the wrong button. Okay, is Susan on here anywhere?
I don't think so. No,
Okay. So Lori, you want to talk about the tennis advisory information?
Oh, sure. I can talk about that. Did you go over my stuff? Because I got kind of tuned out.
I did, yeah.
Okay, so on our the finale, we talk about we are going to have to reconvene and figure that out as far as not sure we have one area. Can you hear me? Okay.
You're cutting
I'm
in and
hearing
out.
multiple conversations.
Mm.
This is weird. So on our rallies on Tuesdays and Saturdays, Rita and Chris Dickman are going to be helping us out with those. We have to, because we're not going into stage 3 when we thought, we are going to have to reorganize those and send something out to the members as soon as we get that under, get that information. We'll get that out. Martha, I think you'll put that out for us, right?
I will.
Because that was supposed to start soon, I think, in July. And then we have a doubles tournament. It's not supposed to say men and women. It's only going to be a mixed doubles tournament. That was supposed to happen the 13th, 16th.
And Fred, you might mute your phone. That might help.
Okay.
So you might mute yourself too.
Do that.
Okay. All right.
I don't know who heard what, or if it was all broken up, but do I need to go over it again, or are we okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
Lori, if
good.
you could just repeat those about the 2 tournament things set up.
Yeah,
like,
so
right?
the doubles tournament, it says on our agenda, men, women, and mixed. It's only going to be mixed. It's supposed to be July 13th through the 16th, but Governor Cooper is not going to let us know until the 16th or the 17th whether we can go into phase 3. So most likely it's either going to have to be later in July or in August, but it will be announced as and I guess really the mix it up, or can we still do that on the 21st, Lisa, since that's just
It's all dependent on, it all depends on what happens on the 17th.
okay? Well, those are only going to be, I think, members of Land Harbor, not
Yeah.
so I think that's okay.
Okay.
And that's about it for that.
Okay. Patty, you want to talk about pickleball advisory?
Okay, well, we attached the calendar. We've not really changed the calendar. It's going to just stay the way it is. We are going to start pickleball lessons. Donna and Martha have agreed to do that with beginners. BJ Atwood will be working intermediate to help us with skills. I think sometimes the easiest way to learn, step your game up, is to play with somebody that's a little bit better than you are. We found that out too, Lisa and Martha. So it's going well. We, when you 108 pickleball players is just, I don't remember what we had last year, but we're darn close. So it's going well. We haven't had a problem on the court at all. Everyone's pretty thoughtful of what's going on and sensitive to other people. Some people still don't want to use but their ball. And so you ask around and do it. And I think it was a good recommendation today. We will bungee those gates open so we're not touching the gates. Other than that, we're just status quo playing pickleball and giggling a lot. So do you want me to go over the 2021 goals, or Lisa? Do you want
I don't think so. I think we're okay with, yeah. Okay.
We'll continue pickling away.
All right. The one thing I wanted to clarify, though, the scheduling, there have been some questions about that. With Hold My Court, Martha, did you mention this at all with the 4 days and the 10 days?
No, I didn't. Would you like me to?
I can clarify that right now. There have been calls and questions about that particular situation. With Hold My Court, we're only able to have one type of scheduling. And so early on, we did use the 10 days, which tennis is used to. However, it became very problematic with the pickleball situation with over 100 players trying to schedule. So we had to back off and do the 4-day advance, no more than 4 days in advance of scheduling. And I realize that's an inconvenience for tennis players, but I'm just hoping you'll bear with us and work through it. We can only have one system. We cannot have two different types of programs. And the system we're using is a free system, the Hold My Court. So I think it's going to take some adjusting, I realize, but just bear with us. I think it's going to help, and we'll get through it for sure. But I did want to clarify that because a lot of tennis players were wondering why that changed all of a sudden. As far as old business, had on here bylaws for 2020. This is generally the time that we start reviewing bylaws and taking a look at anything that we need to change, revise, add, what have you. We haven't really done anything with this. That's to be discussed in our July meeting, but it is voted on. Any changes that we do would have to be submitted to the membership to take a look at, review, ask questions, and then we would vote in August on those changes. So all members are welcome to take a look at bylaws and email us anything that you think we need to consider before our July 20th meeting. The nominating committee has been put together. This is to find new committee members for next year. The members of that are Steve Frazier, Chris Hodges, Don Wicker, and Jerry Grader. So I know they're busy talking to members and trying to encourage people to run for the committee. There will be 4 openings on the committee. Martha, Leon, Joe Thompson, and myself will be rotating off this particular year. So we'll have a list of new potential candidates announced to us on the July 20th meeting, and we will submit to all the members some bio information on these candidates, as well as maybe pictures. Since we can't be together for potlucks and introduce people, we'll have to do it a different way. So, but please, when you get these names, encourage them to run and talk to them, ask them questions, and I'm sure have a wonderful slate of officers for next year. As far as short and long range planning, we've asked Judd Chapin to chair this. Mike is also on this committee, and Leon, Kathy Cake, and Fred. And this particular committee actually started last year, subcommittee started at maybe August of last year, because we do have a lot of growth going on for both tennis and pickleball and needing to look at the future. And we know that plans take a long time to come together. So we're asking those individuals to help look at graphs, our usage of courts, what are our court needs, and help us determine how and where we go from here. One thing that was decided at the end of last year was to consider adding a extension to our pavilion. And Judd actually drew up some plans and submitted those to the POA, where we would actually have a second level. It would allow us to observe games going on for both tennis and pickleball. It would give us additional seating. And that was going to be considered actually in May by the POA, but due to COVID situation, and we're not sitting in the pavilion observing anyone's games, we've extended that, and we'll look at that in the future, maybe even this fall into next year. But that was one of the things that came out of this particular planning committee. The next thing on the old business is our welcome subcommittee. Susan Walls and Sue Chapin have done a great job in creating some letters for our members. And these are welcome letters for our general members, as well as our new property owners in Land Harbor. The plan is to put a letter with the brochure in the have Donna give those to new property owners when they come and meet with her for a orientation, and tell them more about the Racquet Club. And it'll have contact information for them to submit and to contact Susan to help get games, or one of us. So that is in the works. But right now, with the situation as it is, we're not using bulletin boards. We don't want people standing around reading information on our boards. They're empty, as you've noticed. So what we're doing is really having Susan and Sue just contact our new members. We're sending out the member list. Each comes out every week. And they're doing a great job to see new members, and I'm referring people as I receive phone calls to Sue or to Susan about helping people get games, trying to get as many people in the courts as possible. So I think that's working out pretty well, considering the limitations that we have this year. Hopefully that will be very strong next year as things change. I really don't have any new business to announce tonight. And anyone else have anything for new? Yes, Lori.
Just forgot to mention that I've been up to the courts in the last 2 weeks. I try to go up every afternoon just to make sure things are okay up there. And 2 or 3 times I have noticed, well, one time I went up there 5, 6, and 7, the gate was wide open, not even a chain around it or anything. And then yesterday afternoon, I went and court 1 was not locked. I know for a fact that I played on it last in the morning and we locked it up, but the chain was there, but the lock was right on, just hanging on it, and really have to pay attention. Last person that's off the court, please lock those up, because we don't want our court to get messed up, basically.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
our golf.
we do need to keep them locked. And thanks for going down and taking a look at that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
We walk down a lot in the evenings too, so that's a good thing for any of us to do. I know Fred does that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that we've talked about we might want to bring up? Leon.
Yeah, let me just talk about the website just a little bit.
Okay.
I did build on what Josh had initially put out there. It's been refreshed. Like I say, most of the links are good. So if you go in there and click on, say, reservations, it takes you to Hold My Court. If you wanted to learn the instructions, you can click that and it brings that up. This meeting, had the agenda in there. But also the guest certification form is there, as well as our membership form. And recently updated the membership so that the current members are there, so that if anybody who's at Land Harbor wants to look at the membership and get a game, they can just go in there and click that. And it shows them the current report that I send out every week. So it'll have the phone number of the individuals that are members. and also included 2016 through 2019, a summary of all that. So that's all in there now.
Perfect.
I have
Thank
one
you.
question, Lisa.
Uh-huh.
When we announced this YouTube meeting,
Mhm.
we invited members to submit any questions that they might have for the meeting to our Land Harbor Racket Club email. The last time I checked, we had not received any. Is that the case?
Yeah, I did not see any either.
Well, maybe that's good news that no one
Maybe
out there.
so.
out there
That's
has
great.
any questions.
We'll say it's great news. I don't know how many's on. Josh might be able to tell us later how many people are actually watching through YouTube. Okay. All right. Anything else?
I want to make a comment.
Okay.
Added to what Lori said, one of my most indelible memories was I was going for a walk one Sunday evening. Since most of you know I live close. There was a 15-year-old boy there, had his hand on the gate, and had his skateboard under his other hand. The gate was locked.
So I was afraid of someone going there on the bicycle. There's been some really adorable children lot, you know, and I thought, oh, I'm going on there, not even thinking about it. They just
Yeah.
don't know, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
He was quite frustrated.
I bet he was. Yeah. Okay. Well, everybody, thank you for attending
Thank
the
you.
general meeting. And our next Racket Club Committee meeting will be July the 20th. We did make a change in time. It will be at 3 o'clock